record. Okay, so now we have a Winter's Daydream. Let me just switch over the game. So this is a Sometimes You game. I was given a copy of this game for streaming purposes a while ago. I am just very... I just... Because Jesse had done it already, I wanted to wait a little while. So this is Sometimes You, developed by EBI Heim, I don't know how you pronounce that. It was released on the 8th of October 2019. These are all from last year. This is why I said I've got a bit of a backlog. So apologies for that. Thank you to Sometimes You for the code to stream this game. As always, opinions are my own. Yeah, so far I've liked what we've done. I mean, they're interesting concepts. I think I kind of like Just Ignore Me. I kind of like Just Ignore Them, or whatever it was called. Just Ignore Them, yeah. As I like the Stranger games. I liked Red Bow and I like My Big Sister because they're slightly weird, sort of, I want to go Japanese monster type thing. And Distraint was interesting philosophically. Though obviously I was annoyed by the fact that the sound wasn't working, but that was my capture card, not anything else. Press A to play, it's not pressing. Oh, hello, okay. There we go. The Winter's Daydream. So yeah, so this is a short one if you skip all the dialogue, but we're going to do what Jesse did, and we're going to narration style. Let's do word by word. Text speed. Text speed. Faster. Can you hear the music? Is my question first. On the menu screen. Yes, no to music. Someone please acknowledge. Otherwise I'm going to refresh the capture device. You hear pretty music. Cool. Thank you. Awesome. Alright, so let's start. So we've got very much narration heavy games. So yeah, so we'll do about an hour of this, just to give an idea for anyone, and then if anyone is interested, they're not massively expensive. It's a spoopy point and click! Ah, well, we should probably have it classified as a point and click on the site. There wasn't any snow back in Tokyo. The air was crisp and chilly, cold enough to make you bury your hands a little deeper in your pockets. It didn't snow. It's different if you travel a little further north. Oh dear, okay, that's going a little too fast. Oh, we can't stop that. Living in Tokyo since spring this year, in the beginning I was excited to get away from the dull countryside I was raised in, but well, you know what they say, the grass is always greener on the other side. I lived in the countryside all my life, in a small town with a population of around 15,000 people. I'd taken it for granted that I knew the names of the neighbours and they knew mine. I thought it was normal that our family cat Tama would sometimes stay with the elderly Mr. Regashi for days on end because he fed our picky feline better cuts of meat than we did. My hometown was much colder than Tokyo during the winter months, and I can still remember scenes from my childhood. Snow piled up on the roads and the fields are 4 to 5 inches thick. Old roofs would strain beneath the burden of the snowfall, and my father would spend his days off work shoveling snow for our elderly neighbours. No matter how frigid the weather became in my small town, the people would always band together to help one another, spearheaded by gung-ho, eternally optimistic, something like that. In Tokyo, the streets are busy and the buildings are big and the people. It's hard for me to describe them. It's because there are far too many of them. Tokyo isn't inhospitable, per se, but it's not the most welcoming places, least of all to a boy like me. I think my parents were afraid too. My mum used to call me every other day when I was first settling in. She was forever sending me local bags of rice and locally procured persimmons, fearful I might be so overwhelmed by my new surroundings. Though I was awkward and unsure in the beginning, I survived the hostile alien terrain of the big city. I joined the photography club at university and made several friends. My time in the city wasn't as bleak or scary as I feared it would be. In fact, I enjoyed it. 8 months later, I've managed to make it back to my hometown mostly in one piece, with an expensive new haircut, expensive new shoes, something else. My canvas bag lies on the ground at my feet. It's a small bag with only a few sets of clothes and a game console. My camera stashed away inside. I'm only going home for a few days. Plan to stay for New Year's. It's a family celebration. But that's it. When the 3rd of January rolls around, I'll be back on this rickety old train home. I can't afford to miss the start of a new semester. Only for a few days. Time, I've discovered, moves more quickly in the city than in the countryside. You miss a single lecture, you'll be scrambling around for a week trying to recover the information that slipped through your fingers. But sometimes it's too late. There's not enough time. There's never enough time. I sigh as I stare out the train's windows. It's very dark, but the stars are particularly bright tonight. I think I can spot Betelgeuse out of the corner of my eye. It's the 3rd brightest star in the Northern Hemisphere. I know a lot about the stars. My grandfather liked to lecture me about the night sky when I was little. I wasn't particularly interested, but his lessons must have stuck. Can I see any other constellations out of the train windows? It's hard to tell. My eyes, despite my brand new glasses, are unfocused. The snow doesn't help. Snowflakes fall slowly and lazily, swirling through the cool night sky like they have all the time in the world. Time. I yawn. Of course it wouldn't snow in Tokyo. That would cause too many problems. It could interfere with the bus routes and the train schedules. Schools would be shut, business meetings cancelled, and everything would fall apart. All it takes is a day. Time is money. I can only afford to snow out here in the middle of nowhere, because who is it going to inconvenience? The citizens of my tiny town with its miserable selection of shops and only one high school? Like anyone cares. 15,000 people is nothing compared to the millions who reside in Tokyo. I can feel sleep creeping up on me. My arms and legs droop like unwatered plants. My head feels far too heavy. The soft yaw, my eyelids fall asleep and my head leans back against my chair. I think I'm dreaming. My dream, it snows. It always snows around here. Okay, though I miss my parents. Okay. I made the text speed too fast. I can't read it. I thought I was being clever and it would let me press A or something to go to the next one, but no. And I'm not using the walkthrough, no. Alkesh. That seemed a little redundant, and also I don't use walkthroughs on streams unless I've specifically said, and it's a competition thing. Right, start again. Or let's load where it loads from, see where it loads from. Though I missed my parents a good deal when I went away from Tokyo, I eventually learned how to live without them. I can even iron my own laundry now. It's nothing short of a miracle. I've always been on the short side for my age. I blame my mother's gene pool, with long feminine fingers, soft round cheeks. But I'm still 19 years old. I'll be 20 next year. I am an adult, though. I don't look particularly like one, and we all have to grow up eventually. My parents saw me off at the train station last spring, my heart full of dreams, my head full of nerves. My dad put one meaty paw on my shoulder and told me there's nothing to worry about. You're my son, he says. No matter what happens, you'll do just fine. I have faith in you. At the time, I appreciated the vote of confidence, particularly when I had so little confidence in myself. I like to believe I'm capable of being self-sufficient now, but I still think about my father's words from time to time. His serious tone was quite unusual for my dad. Despite being tall, his sudden supportive attitude was certainly new. Whenever I watched television with my family on New Year's Eve, huddled together beneath the kotaku like penguins, my dad would... Okay. This is really hard trying to find the best speed so it's not going too slow, but also... Well, if you're going to walk the dog, I'm only doing an hour, so... Sorry about this. Oh, it's got autoplay! That's why it's annoying me. I thought you had to press A. That's better. Let's try this again. Sorry about this. Pro streamer here. I didn't realise I'd hit autoplay. I wanted time to read the stuff. Ow! There we go. Eventually learned how to live without them. Then I press A. Right. Nothing short of a miracle! We said about the short side. We have to grow up. Nothing to worry about. Okay. A little confidence. There we are. The serious tone was quite unusual for my dad, who, despite being tall and broad-shouldered like a cop from a film noir, is always cracking terrible jokes. His sudden supportive attitude was certainly new. Whenever I watched television with my family on New Year's Eve, huddled together beneath the kotatsu like penguins, my dad would point at the male idols on the panel shows and say, "Look, Yui, I found the perfect job for you. Haven't you ever wanted to be a model?" Then he'd laugh and slap his knee, disrupting the top of the kotatsu of green till spilled everywhere. Never imagined one day I'd miss my father, who was determined to poke fun at me at every given opportunity during my formative years, but I missed him more than I expected. It's my younger sister, however. Hey you! Are you deaf? I asked you to pass me the vinegar. I think I could down on his hair. Otako might be part of my family, but we never gotten on, despite how similar we look. She, like me, inherited her looks from our mother. Unlike me, however, her feminine charms aren't a source of amusement and derision. Otako is short and slender, with a face shaped like an egg. She has clear skin, clear eyes, and the same long fingers that I have, though her nails are always filed and polished, painted to match her outfit for the day. She's a pretty girl, there's no doubt about it, but I've asked you like 4 times, the vinegar, now! She's not even nice. In fact, nice is the last word I'd use to describe her. I'm sorry, I was spacing out. I'm tired from my trip. You do look a little pale. Would you like me to run a bath for you, dear? It's fine, Mum. I can do it myself later. My mother's always liked coddling people. Maybe that's why Otako grew up to be such a... I hope you can do it yourself, being away from home for so long. Man's got to learn someday. My dad laughed raucously and slapped his hand on my shoulder. Oh dear. If you're that tired, you should have some more green tea. It might wake you up after a long journey. Mum begins to refill my cup of green tea without waiting for a response. She doesn't have to play the role of perfect hostess with me. I'm telling my mum that would be a freeze. I've long suspected my mum is not unique from the OCD image. She just can't rest easy with this food dessert when it comes to them. Maybe it's because she worked as a waitress when we opened for a few years, or maybe it's because she missed having her family together like this. I guess she wants to pamper me as much as possible while she has the chance. There aren't many people with much less people, apart from Mrs. Hashima, who used to babysit me and Otako when we were kids. Oh, please! My mother is only too happy to attend to my needs, imagine you're otherwise. Otako is less enthusiastic. You can't be that tired, you big baby. Tokyo isn't that far away. In 6 hours, and my connecting train was half an hour late. How poor you! Excuse me if I don't read the symphony. Wish you get to live in the big city now. I'd kill to be in your position. Let's not talk about killing at the dinner table, dear. Whatever. Otako rose her eyes. The motion is particularly effective in the ring of black eyeliner effect fragrance into brown eyes. Maybe I should try to diffuse the tension. The 4 of us might be a family. For example, I have been away for almost a year. It's only natural our reunion would be a little awkward. You can't expect everything to revert back to the way it used to be over a single meal. You don't need to get jealous, Otako. Don't compliment. Oops. I forgot how much Otako hates how people use me on me. How could I forget? She's only chewed my head off about it 1,000,001 times ever since she turned 13 and started reading fashion magazines and to be self-conscious. Otako never used to be this much of a brat when she was a kid. Puberty, beyond filling out her figure, did something rather frightening to my little sister. She might have blossomed on the outside like a beautiful flower, but her personality is withered on the vine. I'm sorry, Atame. Our family is so Atame. Otako prefers to go by diminutive of that rather than forgiving. Well, I can't exactly believe Otako is her name from her maternal grandma, but it's a pretty easy burden to place on a fashion-conscious girl like me and my sister. While Otako is perfectly innocuous character to those sounds of a girl, it's more common than it used to be now. Otako says she uses her clothes she's going to get change. Mum tries to talk her out of it, but Otako is as stubborn as a character and never change her mind. That's why it's impossible to argue with her. Anyway, Tokyo is not all it's cracked up to be, you know. Oh, really? Really, it's so big and there's so many people. It can be pretty noisy at times. So, you're trying to show off now? No, Oh, it must be so hard. What was thinking? Let's go all the way off to the big bag city while I'm stuck here in this dump with nothing to do for another 2 years. This town is very bad, isn't it, Otame? Don't want to grow up too soon. Enjoy your childhood. I'm not a child. I just turned 17, Dad. Nonsense. You still look like a little girl to me. Please, you'd say that even if I was old as Grandma. That's because no matter how old you get, you'll always be my darling little girl. Just over I mean, Tome, you wanted the vinegar? That's what I said like an hour ago. She obviously didn't make this request an hour ago, but I didn't point this out. Getting into an argument about semantics would be incredibly childish and petty, and I'm an adult now. Here. I slide the vinegar over to the top. As expected, she wasn't there. I don't know why you couldn't have got it yourself. I reached all the way across the table. Tucker raises an eyebrow. She doesn't say what she is stupid, but that's clearly the message she's trying to imply. Closer to it than me. And anyway, you're supposed to be here, and I'm supposed to look out for you. So sorry, I didn't think. No, well, I guess some things don't change. Maybe it's an achievement like in Rampage. It's rare, I agree, Mr. Stella. She might be right. It's been many months since I saw her last, but she's still in good breath. So, honey, we're all curious. What's it like in the city? I've been there for a year yet, but you've already looked at it. What do you think so? That's right. You've got new glasses, haven't you? I think you've got Paula. I look at Mum hopefully, but perhaps a bit too happy. Really? See, all your dreams. Thanks for coming back down to earth with a bum, Tyler. So, dear brother, why don't you spill the beans? What's it like in the big city? I'm dying to know. Please enlighten us, little people. Well, so much. I'm not sure where to begin. Do you want to begin? Not with a tug, glowing at me, her lips pursed, like she's sucking on a bitter lemon. I'm tired for all this. I took it out. I must be getting old. Clear stream of water cascades from the tap and drums against the stainless steel basin of the kitchen sink. Glossy soap bubbles dance in the air, shining with rainbows. Tonight's dinner was a veritable feast, painstakingly created for the sake of replenishing your energy after that awful train journey, to use Mum's words. I'm grateful Mum went the extra mile for me, I really am. Unfortunately, the sheer variety of side dishes Mum cooked has created a mountain of dirty bowls, pots and pans. They're all stacked up on the right side of the sink, just like Mount Fuji, in miniature, but more precarious, of course. Still, I shouldn't complain. Mum cooked all this food for me. Knowing her, she's probably been in the kitchen since the crack of dawn. She's the kind of person who makes her own dashy stock and noodles, no store-bought food for us. I'm a very lucky son. Mum went through a lot of effort on my behalf, so it's only right I should clean up the mess my return home caused. Mum tried to wave aside my offer to help. Don't be silly, dear. You can't wash up in your state. You must be exhausted. But I remained firm, despite the fatigue that had crept upon me. I hid my lethargy as best as I could around Mum, but now she's potted off to the living room with Dad. I can't quite stifle my yawns. The soap bubbles dance before my drooping eyes like something from a dream. Idly, I reach out and touch one. Its shining spherical surface is slick and wet to the touch. For all of 2 milliseconds before it bursts. It disappears without a trace, as though it was never there. Unfortunately, the pots and pans remain, and they're not going away if I stand here spacing out. If only a turkey would help a little. Mum told her to lend a hand, but, Hey, aren't you supposed to be doing the drying? I don't feel like it. But Mum asked you to help. Maybe she did, but Mum isn't here to tell me what to do right now. Not like you ever listened to her anyway, or anyone else for that matter. I sigh. I've only been back home a few hours, but Otaku's always starting to get on my nerves. Look, I've had a busy day. I've done the washing. The least you could do is run a cloth over these pots and pans. Ruin my nails? No thanks, I just painted them yesterday. I don't know why you bother painting your nails anyway, no one's going to see them. Shut up, I didn't ask for your opinion. Tako's sitting at the kitchen table, her head propped up with one hand, the other idly flicking through a fashion magazine. Our cat Tama, meanwhile, is lying in Tako's lap. The sight stings. I've always loved cats, and I nagged my parents for one the moment I was old enough to form basic sentences. Not really sure I was so obsessed, but the prospect of owning a cat sounded absolutely magical to me during my childhood. I begged and begged and begged until my mother finally caved into my demands and bought me a cat for my 8th birthday. That was Tama. Tama came with a caveat that I had to look after her by myself, but I didn't care. I was happy to have a cute feline friend of my own who I'd love and cherish, and who would love and cherish me in return. Unfortunately, like most things in life, it didn't quite work out like that. Tama has never liked me. When she lets me pet her, which is rarely, she does so under duress. Her eyes narrowed and her back rigid, ready to bolt at any moment. Tama's always preferred Otaku, though I'm the one who used to feed her and empty her litter tray. Cats don't know the meaning of the word loyalty. Probably because the cats are not humans, they don't have thumbs we do to flick through dictionaries. Whatever. I've often wondered if Timer likes Otako because they're so similar. They're both temperamental, selfish, and self-centered. Otako's the only one who can carry Tama in her arms, and the only one who can make Tama purr. Tama's purring right now, in fact, her fluffy body vibrating. The sight is rather cute. It's a shame she never acts cute around me. Am I really that unworthy? Otako. I tried to cajole my sister once more, but she's glaring at me, and I soon realise I've slipped up. Good God, trying to have a conversation with my little sister is like picking my way through a field full of landmines. Sorry, Otame, don't you think this is a little unfair? Life's unfair. But I only just got back home. I shouldn't have to do all the washing and the drying by myself. I don't know why you're complaining. You're the one who volunteered. I know, but you're such a suck-up, you. You always try to score brownie points from people by acting like a good little boy. I'm not a boy. I'm nearly 20, and is there anything wrong with helping others? I don't trust guys who act too nice. They always want something in return. I just want you to help me with the dishes. And the saucepans, and the pots, and the cutting boards, and the bowls, and the plates, and the chopsticks. Alright, I know there's a lot, but come on, I'm doing most of the work here. Because you were so eager to help. Well, whatever, I'll give you a hand on one condition. What's that? I know Otako too well. Even if I haven't been back home in a while and there's a painfully high chance her singular condition will be something unpleasant, I hope she doesn't ask me to put wasabi in my eyes. She's threatened me with worse before. She doesn't threaten me. Neither does she ask me to injure herself. For her amusement. Instead, she says brazenly without a shred of embarrassment, I want a present. Pardon? I said, Numbskull, I want a present. And what did you do to deserve a present? Isn't it obvious? No. Jeez, you're so dense. Tucker rolls her eyes. You went all the way to Tokyo, Dad. You should have picked me up a souvenir or two. I wasn't on holiday, Otaku. Otome, sorry. Like I was saying, I wasn't on holiday. I was studying at university, to get a job. But you were still in Tokyo. Yes, and I was looking for a bikini, maybe something like this. Otaku turns a page in her magazine and holds it up for my inspection. And this one here too, they're both cute, but they don't sell any nice clothes in this crappy little town. Go to the next town over then. I have, they never have what I want either. I'm sure they were in Tokyo. I heard the boutiques there are huge and the malls. That sounds amazing. I'd love to go shopping in Ikebukuro or Shibuya. Clothes and shopping are probably Otaku's second and third favourite topics of conversation, respectively, but clothes shopping beats them out by a wide margin. This one-sided discussion has actually managed to bring a rare smile to my sister's lips. For a moment, she actually looks like a sweet, charming girl. The moment soon ends. Otaku sighs and leans back against the chair. The legs screech against the floor unpleasantly. Tama's eyes perk up. She's always been sensitive, even to the slightest of sounds. Though comfortable a few seconds ago, our finicky cat suddenly gets to her feet, or paws, I guess, and hops on the floor. Been to a mall before. I want to go. It sounds like fun. Malls aren't really that interesting. We just have a lot of shops. That's easy for you to say. Now you have all these opportunities. You get to go to a huge metropolis like Tokyo. You don't even think to bring your little sister back a present. I'd kill to find clothes like this. She points at a magazine again. Around here. You have enough clothes already. It's true too. Otaku's clothes closet is full to bursting with outfits. She's the kind of person who buys clothes compulsively, wears them once, and then forgets about them. Truly, this is Western decadence at its finest. But I don't have the clothes I want. We can't always have what we want. But sometimes we get what we need. Sorry, that was bad. Aren't you the one that said the life isn't fair? You could have at least asked me if I wanted any presents before you came back. Then you could have brought me something nice. But why would I buy my sister a bikini? That's kind of weird. So you won't get me a gift. It's too late now. I'm already back home. Her eyes. You can buy it when you get back and have it posted to me later, genius. Then you might as well order it online yourself. You're missing the point here. If I had to do that, it wouldn't be a present. And why do you deserve a present? You're so selfish. All you do is sit in your behind while I do the work. That's because you offered like a moron. Right, that does it. I step forward to what exactly? I'm not sure. Throwing my wet towel at Taku's face is the first thing that comes to mind, but I don't get a chance to wreak my revenge. That's because at that exact moment, Tama? Something small and furry entwines itself around my unsuspecting ankles. I stagger like a drunkard, arms flying out for support, but there's nothing to grab onto. I teeter, I totter, and then, quite spectacularly, I fall. My behind hits the floor with a dull thud. My head smacks against the back of the kitchen cabinet. Ow! While the small of my neck catches against one of the handles. Oh, holy... I curse under my breath. It hurts. It hurts a lot, actually. Tama, of course, escapes relatively unscathed. She gives me a withering look and darts away, her tail held proudly aloft. Taku snorts. Such a clutch, you. That's what you get refusing by me, your only sister. A fitting present. I grit my teeth together and attempt to turn inside my head. If I don't, I'll end up saying something I regret. Taku really is impossible. December 29th, Friday. Winter's Daydream. Excuse me. This game's giving me the yawns. Breakfast the next morning. I probably got a concussion or something. Breakfast the next morning is an awkward affair. My fan isn't actually rotating, which is probably cold. Taku, sitting opposite me at the table, barely gives me a second glance. Her entire attention is directed at her miso soup with laser-like intensity. She's really that upset I didn't agree to buy her a bikini. Why should I, anyway? Knowing Taku's taste in scanty strips of fabric tied together with a flimsy string that she covers would cost more than a meal capable of feeding a whole family. Besides, I've no real desire to go loiter around the women's swimsuit section in any clothes store, especially not for the sake of my sister. I know Taku wouldn't appreciate it, but I didn't go to Tokyo to buy my family gifts. I'm not a tourist, I live there now, it's my home. But this town used to be my home not so very long ago. Things really have changed during the last 8 months. Though Taku is trying her hardest to avoid it, there's something softly nostalgic about the scene. In fact, it's nostalgic precisely because she's avoiding me. I suppose Taku's small temper is just too part of my daily life. My old life. We used to get on well enough when we were younger, but we haven't for a few years now. I don't know why. I don't think I've ever done anything egregiously terrible to her other than call the wrong name from time to time. Maybe I'll most of the time. Still pondering how to keep tofu on my miso soup. It's smooth and silky, and actually stock has a deeper, richer flavour than any tofu I've tasted before. Mum watches me expectantly. Small smile, that's nice. How is it? Really great. Return a smile to her. You've got even better at cooking. Oh, stop, you're trying to frighten me. Well, if you keep it up, you'll get seconds. See if you don't. It's a general idea, yes. Ha ha ha. When did you become such a sweet talk for you? Being in the big city must have taught you a thing or two about flattering the ladies. Oh, please, I'm no lady. I'm old enough to be his mother. Ah, gross! Get a room, you two. Most of that from a Taku in about 20 minutes. I swear, being with her is like going to squeeze blood from a stone. But at least stones can't pull faces and call them gross. Not even the stones in the mythical land of Tokyo. So, do you want another helping of miso soup, honey? Yes, please. I hold up my bowl, and Mum takes it, busting onto the counter to fix my top. And what about rice? Do you have enough? Well, I guess a little now. That's right, you're still a growing boy. You need to keep your energy up, especially now you're back home. Sometimes I worry about you in the big city. I don't know if you're eating enough or eating the right things. I think he's been eating more than enough, Mum. I mean, look at him. What do you mean? Isn't it obvious? You're going to end up like Dad if you're not careful. Well, it's about time he started taking after me. I've always thought he was too skinny. Oh, don't you worry, he's looking more and more like you by the day. You're being stupid! Cut it out! Ugh. I glare at my little sister bitterly. When she was being silent, part of me wished she would say something. Now she's opened her mouth. But nothing more will ever keep it shut. There are a handful of naughty things in the world that should never be opened, no matter what. The first is a sealed-off entrance. 2 is a nanny's tomb. The second are the tubs of my grandmother's homemade natto sauce. The third is a Taku's mouth. Mum hands me a bowl of miso soup now filled to the brim and exchanges it for my half-finished bowl of brown rice. She goes to the rice cooker. tacos while she's scooping the rice into my bowl and returns to me with a smile. Here you go, sweetie, enjoy. Oh, thanks. Try to sound enthusiastic before the mood is floating away. I poke her cube of tofu over a music stool. It bobs like a rubber duck in the bathtub. I know Otaku's trying to get at me and I don't want to give her the satisfaction of winning. Now it's impossible for me not to feel self-conscious. I really put on weight. I look any different than I did 8 months ago, but Otaku's preferable to fashion magazines, appearing in a reflection of her. She probably has a better eye for looks than I do. I guess I have been eating more than I used to. It's to be expected, really. There are so many restaurants and fast food places in Tokyo, and I live next to a McDonald's is open 24/7. Scarfing lukewarm chicken nuggets at 3 in the morning while working on an essay due later that day is a peak student living. Oh, I thought you said you were hungry, you. Why are you picking your food like that? I'm fine. She's funny, he says. You're going to make Pikachu if you're careful. Such a bad thing. Who's Pikachu from Pikachu? I meant Pikachu from the first game to the round thing we barely on. Maybe Snorlax would be more accurate. Taku? Hey! Taku flips the legs in my chair underneath the table. That's atomic to you. Kid comes off the table and my precariously full bowl of miso soup splashes all over the table onto my lap. It's uncomfortably hot and I hiss beneath my breath. Taco, be more careful. You're the one that needs to be more careful. You just look at yourself. Look at you, you're so childish. You need to grow up. I think you've grown up into too much, Deborah. Or not up, but out. You. Now, you two try to behave, please. You're not children anymore. That's right, be nice to your sister, you. That's right, you. Be nice to your sister. Ugh. I grit my teeth together. Being the oldest sibling, I'm always the one that gets into trouble, no matter what Taco does. My parents are soft on her. Dad always wanted a daughter, I think, so they let her get away with a lot. It doesn't hurt that she's so pretty. I'll just stamp my feet on the floor and say this isn't fair, but I know doing that would make me seem like a child. I have to try and bear it. Or will I? All of a sudden, I think with a bright idea. You know what? I was busy thinking about visiting Grandma today. Huh? Why would you do a stupid thing like that? To an outsider, Otaku's reaction may seem rude, but I think she has a valid point for once. Meiko is our paternal grandmother and our only grandparent who's still alive. She lives even further out in the sticks than we do, if you can imagine such a thing. Her house is situated in a village far little over this town, a good 40 minutes away by train. The train chugs along Mona's old, semi-abandoned tracks, west of no broken fields. There are no buildings for miles around, no streets, no houses, just flats, seemingly endless expanses of fields. I think about 300 or my grandmother's teeny tiny village home. I'm surprised it's been bulldozed or over to make room for a highway yet, but given plans in the local government, I don't even know if the village exists. So out of the way, more birds live there than people building their nests in the hoary roofs of all the abandoned houses. I used to hate our family visits to Grandma and Meiko when I was little, but now I'm starting to think the peace and quiet of the village stuff would be good for me. Certainly would be more peaceful without a time around. I'm being serious. I haven't seen Grandma in a while. If I let this moment slip by, who knows when I'll next get the chance? I don't understand why you'd want to take this chance. We had to go there this summer and it was so boring. I got bitten to death by bugs too. Well, you know how it is. She's getting on in years and I want to see her if, well, you know, just in case. Don't worry about my mother. She's a tough old bird, tough as they come. I know, but it really has been a while. Weirdo. Well, I think it's a nice idea. Meiko's always been fond of you, and she's only been to Tokyo a few times in her life. I'm sure she'd love to hear how you're doing at university. Then I'll go and call her right now. Yes, you do that, but do you have any idea when you'll be coming back? I'm not sure yet. It takes a while to get out there, and the trains and buses don't run very often. Maybe they'll all get cancelled, then you get stuck up in the mountains for months and months. Why does Otaku sound so pleased about that prospect? If that happens, I'll change my name to Heidi and start rearing goats. Otaku snorts and rolls her eyes, but doesn't have any further comments. That is, if a more freak under her breath counts as further comments. Just don't stay with your grandmother too long. We want to spend time with you too. Don't forget it's almost New Year's. We need to visit the local shrine together as a family. That's what we always do, isn't it? That's right. New Year's wouldn't be the same without you. I know my mother's a fun old woman to be around, and she's always doted on you, but don't let it take up all your time. Don't worry, I'll only be gone a day. 2 days at most. That's what you say, but your days are precious. You're my only son. I really have missed you. And Grandma's old grandson, I'm sure she's missed you too. Well, the Taco has at any rate. Sister's reclining in her chair, chopsticks in her mouth, idly pushing some tofu from one side of her cheek to the other. She sees me looking, she scowls. phoned my grandmother after breakfast and she sounds more than happy to accommodate me for a few days. At least someone is. Luckily I don't have too much to pack. I was so tired after dinner last night I didn't have time to take all the belongings out of my rucksack. Oh, wet my throat. And itchy scratch. I retrieved my bag from my bedroom and went right downstairs. Tama is meandering around in the entrance hall by our shoes. She sniffs my sneakers curiously, her pink nose twitched, her head cocked to one side. Maybe my scent has disturbed her. Cats are incredibly territorial and it has been 8 months since I last came back here. Do I smell unfamiliar to her now? Maybe she thinks I'm a stranger, a hostile invader. Oh well, Tama's never liked me anyway. Shoo, shoo! I wave a head in Tama's direction as she hisses, scampering off down the hallway. Her tail is stuck up in the air like an aerial, as so often is. Stupid cat. I take a seat on the stairs and slide my shoes onto my feet. You'd act a little nicer to me, you know. I don't see why she should. You're never nice to her. Oh. I glance upwards, meeting my sister's narrowed eyes. It's you. Geez, and they say Tama has personality problems. You're the one that should be acting nicer, you. And why is that? You should be more appreciative than I came to talk to you before you left, Dan. Yes, I'm overwhelmed with emotion that a goddess such as yourself to deign to materialize before a mere mortal like me. Quite literally too. I can hear Otaku's footsteps as she approached. Maybe she did materialize out of thin air. Then again, it's more like the Otaku is so skinny her feet don't make any telltale noises as they touch the ground. Otaku doesn't eat much. She picks at her food daintily like a baby bird and pushes things around in a bowl. And on a plate, but not very much actually goes inside her mouth. Maybe she's trying to get that perfect bikini body. The end of December. Otaku might not be the nicest of girls, but you can't say she isn't dedicated. So, why are you here? Are you going to beg me not to leave? Will you miss me after all? As if. Should have known. I just came to give you this so you don't starve. Oh, hello, present for you. Otaku's thrust something in my direction. It's a small lunchbox, wrapped up cutely in a pink and white spotted handkerchief. The handkerchief is tied at the top in a neat ribbon, keeping the separate layers of the lunchbox together. It's a very sweet gesture. At least it would be if Otaku wasn't scowling, but it doesn't match my younger sister at all. What is she playing at? Are you really giving this to me? Well, duh. Who else would I be giving it to? Ask a stupid question, I guess. Why are you sitting there gawping? You'll let flies in. Oh, sorry, I just didn't expect this. Cutely packaged lunchbox is the last thing I expect Otaku to hand me, unless the contents are poisoned, of course. Younger sisters in TV shows are usually sweet and doting. They worry about their older brothers, fuss over their health, and make them delicious food. It's a shame these girls only exist inside the TV screen. My little sister is the opposite of all that. That's why the situation is so surprising. This dude is a bit sexist. By any chance, did you make this? No. Otaku rolls her eyes. Mum did, obviously. Oh, right. Of course. As if Otaku would ever cook for me. I'm not sure Otaku can cook in the first place, so a lot can change in 8 months. And even if she could, she wouldn't waste her culinary prowess on me. She hates me. Well, thanks for giving it to me. It's nothing. Mum told me to. If she hadn't asked, I wouldn't have bothered. I figured. Now, take it. Hurry. Otaku shoves the lunchbox in my hand, scowling. She uses so much force I almost drop it. Now, get going. I'm sick of looking at your idiotic face. Well, thanks, I guess. Whatever. I rattled the lunchbox curiously with one hand. I don't know what's inside, but I can hear the side of food sliding around, hidden from my prying eyes. What could Mum have made me for my journey? There'll be rice, no doubt. That's a standard. Rolled egg omelette too, maybe small hamburger steaks or fried chicken. I mean, she had 10 minutes? Don't shake the lunchbox like that, you'll ruin it. Oh, I'm sorry. Now, what are you waiting for? Run along, you miss the train if you don't, and you really will be stuck with me. Wouldn't that be awful? I open my mouth ready to retort, but I don't know what I should retort with. Never seem to know when I'm with Otaku. That doesn't really matter, though, because she turns about on her heels and stalks off in much the same manner Tama did earlier. If Otaku had a tail, I'm sure it'd be sticking up in the air. I watch her from afar, sighing. Thanks for your concern. Well, I can always look on the bright side. I doubt my relationship with my lovely sister can get any worse. If you're already at rock bottom, there's no place you can go other than up, right? My train journey is relatively unremarkable and will be perfectly silent were not for the rattling of the old train's wheels against the track. I'm one of the only people sitting in this old jittering car. There's a woman with brown hair holding a bouquet of lilies on her lap, and a man with a young boy, his son presumably, resting against his shoulder, a stuffed bear clutched to his chest, but that's all. Otherwise, the carriage is utterly deserted, just like the flat, featureless countryside that speeds past us. I stare aimlessly out of the windows, which are frosted over with powder snow icing. The rice fields and hedgerows are pure white. All the fields have been stripped of their leaves, the cool wind moves through them, making them shiver. The unused handrests sway curiously above my head. Why are the handrests on an old train like this? No one needs to stand. There are always free seats available. Not enough people live around here. There aren't any houses, just fields. Handrests seem like a useless expense, rocking pointlessly to and fro with the motions of the train. It's cold inside the train compartment, and my every exhalation of air is in the windows. The young boy clutching the bed mumbles incoherently in his sleep. A stranded drawl drips slowly from the corner of his mouth, and his father wipes it away with a cotton tissue. His tender gesture makes me think of my mother, and how she would baby me when I was that boy's age. She still babies me now, though I'm almost 20. He's made the same. Getting older, no one can stop me from watching time. During the long journey, which lasts a good half hour longer than has been right to me, I did a wonderful job, just like usual. It's brown rice, as I expected, not baked brown rice, it just has more flavour. Accompanied with rolled egg omelettes, cherry tomatoes, crispy fried chicken, and sauce as well. Mum used to make lunches like this for me back when I was at elementary school. I ignored my reflection in the train's windows and could almost fool myself into believing I'm a small child again. I closed the lid on my empty lunchbox and set it on my lap, resting my fingers on the surface of the box. Those cheeky Martinis. Resting my fingers on the box, I turn my head and look outside the window at the sugary snow clinging to each and every surface. I feel like I'm trapped inside a snow globe, the biggest snow globe ever to have been created. When the train finally pulls into the station with an unpleasant screeching brakes and a flurry of powdered snow, I feel almost remorseful. I was enjoying my journey, and I wasn't the only one. The one with the Lily's jolts, her eyes wide. I think she was starting to nod off, clinging to her slightly crushed bouquet like some kind of talisman. The little boy with the stuffed bear jerks awake likewise. He glances about in the almost empty train compartment in the abandoned train station and blinks. His eyes fills with tears, then he starts to cry. I don't really blame him. I used to feel like crying when my parents took me to this tiny village too. It's so unkempt and run down, it only inspires vague, uneasy feelings of depression. The dilapidated old train station, though the station might be a bit generous when there's only one platform, tempers one's expectations for the village beyond it perfectly. It's dull and desolate and almost entirely removed from the real world. All the same, I think I've gained a newfound appreciation for peace and quiet after living in Tokyo. It's, relaxing even if the young boy's tears aren't. The boy's dad leans over, attempting to console him, but I pay them little heed. I get to my feet, pulling my luggage out from the rack above my head. It's time to get going. My grandmother greets me cheerfully when I'm arriving home. She rattles off all the usual pleasantries for tea. My shoes in the entrance hall, how she missed me, how she used to see me, and how welcome still it was like that. Once my shoes are removed and lined up beside my grandmother's winter boots, she ushers me into the living room. Starting to worry about seated beneath the tuts and the heater beneath warming our feet, as she says, fateful line all grandmothers say to their children when they haven't seen them in months. My, you really have grown. It's as predictable as clockwork. There's some kind of script the grandparents separated from, or maybe an axiology. As they ponder this, I look down myself and frown. Have I really grown taller? Oh yes, definitely. To be quite honest, I can't see any difference. I think my grandmother's being a bit too optimistic. Either that or she's shrunk during the last few months, but this isn't beyond the realms of possibility either. Strange things happen to our bodies as we get older. I think I look the same as always. Maybe to you, because you see yourself in the mirror every day. It's hard to notice change when it creeps up on you. I guess. It's different from me. I don't see you in 8 months and you shoot off like a bean sprout. I think Mum said something like that yesterday too. Isaki did. Yes. And I take her word for it. She's a good eye, that woman. That's it. Well, Gallagher would. You can't see more than 5 feet past his own face. Oh, Isaki is smart. I don't know if she made the right decision when she married my son. Though, as Kanami's mother, I'm glad she did. He needs a woman to help guide him in my absence. Right. No, it's not. We are 2 achievements in. I'm actually playing the game rather than, just sticking out on autoplay and fast. Because you don't actually make any decisions in this. It's not a choice game, it's literally just a novel. But, we'll give it another... give it another 20 minutes, let the story at least kick in. And then if anyone wants to find out what happens hard to tell when, if ever, she's being serious. She reminds me a little of a fox, actually. She's easily as devious. I sometimes wonder how she managed to raise a straightforward man like my father. Anyway, would you like some green tea? I can always brew you a cup. Oh, you don't have to. I don't want to cause you any trouble. Taking care of my beloved grandson is never any trouble. He might be old, but I'm not that old. She had a point. Grandmother, might be in her 80s, but she's energetic as a woman half her age. Her spirit is very much alive, but her body betrays her years. Her fingers are long and skinny, her face ingrained with wrinkles, and her eyes are horribly unfocused without being in her glasses. Despite all this, however, my grandmother pulls herself to her feet with a smile. As she's an old woman, her tenacity is quite impressive, and I'm worried all the same. You don't need to make the tea for me, I can always help you. I push my palms against the surface of the old kotatsu, ready to get to my feet, but now that will never do. Sit down, dear. You're the guest. I see you so rarely these days. I want to take care of you when I have the chance. I'll get that tea for you in a moment. Right. Well, thank you for your hospitality. You don't need to be so formal, dear. We're family. Sorry. You don't need to apologise either. So, I catch myself before I can make the same mistake twice and my grandmother smiles fondly. Really, I'm Sakura-san. She's very polite too. Model woman, in fact. I think you're more like her than like her. Is that a good thing? Just what it is. No matter who your parents are, you still be in. You still you really have to do. Right. So the tea. You do like green tea, don't you? Forgive my poor memory, but it's been such a long time. I've quite forgotten. Green is fine. Good. It's all I have at the moment. You know, I always love my tea, but oh well, that's in the past. Now, would you look at me for some money to get that cake brewing? My hostess is never done. My grandmother pads out of the living room, her footsteps cushioned by her cream slippers. I begin to glance around in my grandmother's absence, letting the heat of the kotatsu soothe my weary feet and aching legs. My grandmother's home is quintessentially Japanese. The walls are supported with wood, the floor is made from tatami mats, and the doors are sliding screens. This kind of architecture feels almost rustic after my time spent in Tokyo. My apartment in Tokyo has a distinctly Western feeling. There are no tatami floors and not that much wood either. There are a lot of smooth, shiny plastic surfaces, however, and I sleep in a bed instead of a futon. This old house is as far away from my apartment as possible to get, and it looks the same as always. The same pictures hang on the walls, the same books line the shelves, and the same wooden fruit bowl rests at the top of the kotatsu. The only object in this room that eschews Japanese sensibilities is a French doll, sitting on a small table by a bookcase. The doll has blonde hair tied back in neat ringlets, her blue eyes fringed with long lashes and small pouty lips. She wears a dress made of silk, real silk I think, with matching shoes and socks. I think her name is Lisette. My grandparents bought Lisette when they went on holiday to Europe more than 50 years ago. She's been a permanent fixture of this house ever since, even if she is entirely out of place. When she was younger, Taku used to examine Lisette, brushing out her hair and unbuttoning and rebuttoning her dinky little shoes. I played with Lisette too, no, not quite as delicately as my sister. I used to tip the poor doll upside down, intrigued to see what underwear she had on, plain white drawers if you're interested. It wasn't a particularly exciting sight. Visiting my grandparents was never exciting. This old house reminds me of my childhood, of long, seemingly endless summer days where I'd lounge about in the shade, trying to keep both the heat and my old boredom at bay. It never worked. Sometimes my parents and my grandparents and Otaku and I would eat slices of watermelon, sitting on the wooden veranda outside. The watermelon was grown locally, its fern green skin concealing an inviting pale pink interior, studded with black seeds. We used to sprinkle salt on our slices of watermelon to draw out the flavour. It's a trick Dad taught me. It's kind of fun, I guess. But the warm summer air thronged with intrusive insects. They buzzed and bit and sucked my blood, leaving me with little red wheels all over my arms and legs. Fortunately, it's too cold for insects right now. My grandmother's home is the same as it was during those long, lazy summer days, but now the windows are glazed with ice and the kotatsu is the focal point of the living room. The kotatsu and the oranges, the pictures on the walls, a desk on a desk, and opposite the boxy television set. A single syllable falls from my lips. I was wrong. There is something different about this room after all. A small shrine has been erected on a stand in the corner, a photograph of my grandfather in the centre, a few candles around the edges. My grandfather died a little over a year ago before I went to university. I haven't seen my grandmother since the funeral. I haven't been to her home. I've never seen the shrine. I swallow. I never used to like visiting my grandparents. I know they were nice people. They used to get me spending money on my birthday and New Year's, but I was too young to appreciate their company. The my grandfather died. He died and I wasn't that upset because I didn't really know him, but that upset me more than his passing did. I didn't know him. How was that possible? I had plenty of opportunities to talk to him during my childhood, but I never took advantage of them. Instead, I spent my time at my grandparents' house lounging around like a malcontent cat, reading and rereading volumes of boys' manga I brought with me to stave off the inevitable boredom. Maybe that's the real reason why I decided to see my grandmother today. Tucker contributed to my decision, but this is something that's weighed on me for a while. Guilt. I don't want my grandmother to die like my grandfather, as a mysterious, benevolent entity who existed nothing more than a shadow in the periphery of my life. I want to get to know her a little better, not as an estranged family member, but as a human being. She deserves it. She's always been so nice to me, after all. Her and my grandfather. Sorry to keep you waiting, Hugh. My grandmother enters the living room, supporting a tray in her ropey hands. Here's your tea. Oh, thank you. Do you need any help with that? Don't fuss so much, dear. Like I said, you're my guest. It's my job to look after you. Now, sit back down. My grandmother slides a cup of tea from the tray and places it atop the potato beside the bowl of oranges. Thank you. I bow my head, my voice hushed. I wait until my grandmother has placed her own cup of tea down and slip beneath the covers before I take my first sip. Is it good? I swish the tea from one side of my mouth to the other, savouring the taste. I never liked green tea when I was little, but I developed a tolerance for it that borns on fondness when the right criteria are met. My grandmother's tea, fortunately, meets all those criteria. The tea has a soft, slightly muted taste. The leaves have been steeped for just the right amount of time, allowing their earthy flavour to seep through the warm water. It's good. Thanks a lot. No worry, dear. Canary always loved my tea. He said brewing tea was my one talent. Arse. Grandpa, huh? Thought it might be insensitive, but I can't help but glance back at the shrine. My grandfather looks at me from behind the smooth, glassy frame that entombs him, a smile on his face. I think it's a nice picture. It'd be far too sad if his funeral photograph brought a frown. Though, now that I think about it, I can't remember ever seeing him frown. He's a very cheerful, good-natured person. He swore it was because of the air around here. It's the cleanest air in Japan, was what he always told me. It's been a while since his funeral, huh? That's right, it's been more than a year already, though it feels like it was only yesterday. Do you, I let my gaze drop to the tabletop. The Katasu's wooden surface is scuffed with age and it's ingrained with marks even deeper than the wrinkles in my grandmother's face. I wonder how old this Katasu is. It looks like it's been through the wars, maybe literally. Do you miss him? Of course I miss him. We live in a very quiet part of the world, but Yukinari had a knack for bringing things to life. My grandfather had a loud, booming voice even when he was well into his 80s. I can still remember him calling out, the sound invading every single nook and cranny of this small wooden house. The watermelon's ready! I wonder how long ago that was. Maybe 5 years, maybe 10. When I went to sleep, I could always hear him snoring. It drowned out everything. Now, however, my grandmother sighs. I can hear the cicadas in the summer, the wind in the winter more clearly than ever before. Didn't his snoring bother you? Not really. I got used to it. People can get used to anything. Have you gotten used to the wind? Not just yet. Maybe I should amend my previous statement. People can get used to anything when they're young. When they get older, grow into our habits, we fall into routines, and when things come along to disrupt that, it unsettles us. It takes longer to adjust. I'm sorry. My grandmother smiles gently. Why are you apologizing, dear? You didn't kill Yukinari. I know, but you have nothing to feel sorry about. Yukinari loved you a lot, you know. He did? Of course, you're our precious grandchild. I'm sure he still loves you wherever he is. But he can't give you New Year's money anymore. And my grandmother laughs, shaking her head. I'm not sure whether I should laugh or not. It might seem insensitive, so I take another sip of my green tea instead. That's fine. I'm too old for New Year's money now. My grandmother looks me over one hand beneath her chin. I suppose you are, yes. You're getting bigger and bigger by the second. Tucker's snide comment about my expanding girth niggles at me. My cheeks turn pink and I bow my head, staring at my lap. Not that big. Not big, then tall. Yukinari was tall and Kaname, you must take after them. I think I'm so very tall. It's been short for my age. Well, maybe I'm getting shorter. So, how long are you planning to stay here, you? Maybe a day or two? It takes a while to get back and the trains are all delayed on the way here. That's right. There's all that snow, isn't there? It's been snowing a lot. Ever much so. The weather forecast said it was meant to snow tonight too. I wonder if the trains will leave me running tomorrow. I've seen Christmas cakes on sale in the supermarket near my apartment in Tokyo, and these depict idyllic scenes: a small neat circular fruit cake with white icing piped on top, studded with little gingerbread houses and small edible snowmen. The Christmases in the countryside, however, are far away from that ideal, as you can imagine. Snow here can fall thick and fast between the months of December and May. It can even snow all the way into April if the weather's cold enough. Oh, I miss snow. I wonder if it'll snow this year. It sort of didn't really snow at all. And I kind of want Evie to get her first snow. Plus, you know, Christmas, hopefully. Family. Hopefully. God. Oh well. The weather seems to be getting colder and colder with every passing year. Some of the very old houses around these parts, the wooden walls and rafters worm-eaten and worn, actually collapsed beneath the weight of the snowfall a couple of years ago. The roofs simply caved in, unable to bear the heavy burden of all that pure white snow. It's little wonder that the legend of fearsome snow women who prowled the mountains at night looking for lost travelers originated from this area. You never find these snow women out in Tokyo. In the city, the temptations that can lead young men astray are limited to pachinko parlors and smoky izakiyas. I guess ghosts seem laughable when you're surrounded by so many modern high-rise buildings. It's much more isolated in the countryside, quieter, lonelier. When I strain my ears, I can hear the sound of the wind whistling through the skinny trees outside. I shiver beneath the kotatsu. All of a sudden, I feel like a young kid. You can stay here as long as you want if the trains aren't running, though I hope you don't get too bored. There isn't much to do out here, particularly when the snow starts falling. It's fine, I came here to spend time with you anyway. I think that's why I like spending time with Grandpa. It's nice and quiet up north, and you know there are so few distractions, you know, and we can just sit and talk and read and eat. It's good. I guess so. I understand where you're coming from. North is best, yeah. But it's more the company than the place. How sweet. If only Otaku would do the same. She prefers to be called Atame now. Oh yes, I forgot. When you get to be my age, you start forgetting things, just like Yukinari. He was always misplacing his glasses, even when they were on the bridge of his own nose. You seem pretty spry to me. In fact, I think you even look younger than before. My north? Newcastle is north? It's the north you can get in England until you hit Scotland. It's called Northumberland for a reason, doy. That's where my grandpa lives. Northumberland. North of Newcastle. My parents live in the Midlands. That's not what I was talking about. My mum's Geordie. Umberland? Where's Umberland? You're making up places now, aren't you? I was going to say, Northumberland is more north than where you are. Southumberland. I don't think Southumberland is a place. Or maybe, but I've never been there. But yeah, Oopnaff, definitely Oopnaff. I know I'm south now, because London, but you know, I'm not soft. I prefer the cold to the hot. Anything north of Northampton is north. Anything north of London is north, to be perfectly honest. Eevee picture. Hang on. Slight pause. Oh my god, now my one working fingerprint. Paddling pool! Aww. That's cute. She's growing so fast. Need to figure out how to get to see her at some point. Need to finish a present first, and then we'll be good. Just let me save the picture, please. Fine, don't let me save the picture. There we go, save. She looks happy. Oh, I have so many notifications, they're ridiculous. Yeah, Annick, Linda's farm, up to Berwick, yeah. My mum used to work in Annick. I've been to Linda's farm with my grandpa last time. No, time before last. We bought fudge, it was very nice. Yeah, he lives north of Newcastle, so I usually come into Newcastle and change there, but occasionally I can get a train straight to where he lives. But yeah, he basically lives in the middle of the countryside, but he's got a car, so, you know, we can go places. Not that we went anywhere last time. I was tired, and he was quite happy not to go anywhere. But we did go to Linda's farm the time before. I'm hoping to be able to go up again at some point, but again, have to get either rent a car for a few days, or I don't know. I actually don't know what other choice there is. But yeah. Oh, there's a video now. Hang on. Aww. You know what? It's great living in London when everything's open and work is here, but no, not having a car and not being able to get to family. You see, when I first moved to London, I had a car, and I got rid of it, and now I don't have a car. So, if I'd had a car, then I would be able to go visit my family a lot easier. So I have to rent one, which is just, you know, tricky in itself. So, Anyway, let's get a little bit further in the story, at least get to the point where it actually becomes the weird daydream thing, and then we'll probably call it a day, because I'm starting to get a bit creaky. You seem pretty spry to me. In fact, I think you're even younger than before. Well, thank you, that's very kind. I'm lucky to have a caring grandchild like you. Oh, no, it's nothing really. And I mean it. I've had so many opportunities to reach out to my grandparents in the past, but I never bothered. Visiting them in my youth was a painful experience, even worse than having teeth pulled at the dentist. Then, before I realised it, my grandfather was dead. He was dead and I'd never tried to get to know him. That was the wake-up call I needed. My grandparents, though they were born in a different generation to mine, are still human beings. They must get lonely too. I got lonely in Tokyo my first few weeks of starting university, even though I was always surrounded with people. Maybe I was homesick. I can't imagine how lonely my grandmother must feel now that her husband of more than 50 years has passed. She'd have been with him for such a long time and devoted so much of her life to him. And now he's gone. Vanished into thin air. My grandmother is still smiling, but I do wonder. I glance at Grandfather's shrine once more. His photograph looks back at me, his eyes unblinking. Oh, Jessie skipped the 10. Oh, sorry, I ran a bit longer than I was expecting to run, I think. Or did I? I think I was only supposed to go. Yeah, I ran a little bit longer. I think I looked at the race schedule and thought maybe, I don't know, it was a mystery seed. I feel bad now. But he's done quite a lot of streams. I thought it would be okay if I did one. I don't know if he's there. Unfortunately, a photograph can't bring back one's photographs like this have 50 years from now? 100? 500? Who will remember my grandfather when the rest of his family is gone? A knot twists in my stomach. Outside, the wind continues to howl. The weather forecast was right. Later that evening, it really does start to snow. The snow spirals through the air in delicate, gauzy flakes like ballerinas in two skirts. The snowfall is soft at first, almost tender, as though anxious about whether it should land on the earth or not, but the flakes soon increase in size and volume. Now, at around 9 in the evening, the whole ground has been steeped in white. I watch the snow as it falls outside the window, still sitting beneath the kotatsu. There's so much of it, one could always believe that it's being dumped from the sky by a truck. It'll be a cold night tonight. I nod my head dumbly. The television is on in the background, but I'm not watching it. I haven't been watching it for the past half hour. I'm too busy staring at the snow. Each flake of snow that drifts past the window stirs new memories in my heart. It just doesn't snow like this in Tokyo. It doesn't get cold enough. Never thought I'd miss the snow, but now I feel strangely nostalgic. And about Palette Princess. Oh. Palette Princess's new CD. Can we expect any something? Oh well, surprises are supposed to be kept secret, you know. I don't want to spoil anyone's fun. Aha, evasive as always, but that's why you love you, I know. All women need to have one or two secrets, even those who spend their lives performing. The television buzzes dimly, images flicker on the screen, but they look hazy and indistinct, as though I'm viewing them from behind a film photo. A man in a grey suit sits on the couch. A group of girls clad in gingham face him. Spoken with a wink that would make any man's heart flutter. If you've fallen for the charms of the adorable Ina and her group, Palette Princess, please consider supporting their newest release. And again, for any latecomers, what's your latest CD called? Dreaming in December. Do you know that group, you? I turn, tearing my eyes away from the window and look at the girls who are displayed on the TV. The image on the screen is shaking comfortably like it's being broadcast live from a boat in the middle of a storm. It's making my head hurt. At least I can make the image out more or less. There are 5 girls wearing matching outfits in varying colours: green, blue, yellow, purple and pink. I think the girl in pink sitting in the centre is the leader. Aina, was it? I think Otaku likes that group, but I'm not interested in idols. I don't listen to pop music either, but they look like nice girls. They're very smiley. They have to be smiley, that's how they still sell CDs. How cynical. Is that what living in the city does to people? Living in the city? And the internet, maybe? Well, I wouldn't know much about that. I've never gotten along with the so-called World Wide Web. My grandmother makes quotation marks with her fingers when she says it, as though the internet is some kind of strange voodoo magic far beyond her understanding. Well, to people who aren't familiar with the internet, it might as well be voodoo magic. I don't entirely understand how it works myself. It's a good thing I'm studying law, not computing. Kaname tried to set me up with one of his old monitors, and Atami lent a hand, but Yukinari couldn't wrap his head around it. I couldn't either. Well, I guess you don't need to worry about it. I try not to. I know I'm just a relic of the past. Oh, no, you're not a relic, exactly. A fossil, then. Well, you don't need to worry about hurting my feelings, you. I know where I stand. I'm nothing like these girls. What girls? The ones on the television. Those girls look so bright and cheerful, even though they wear such short skirts. I never would have been allowed to dress like that when I was their age. My poor mother's heart would have stopped beating. Times are changing. That's right. I'm beginning to notice it more and more. I just can't keep up with you young people. Half of what Otaku says goes over my head, I'm afraid. All this talk about boy bands and fashion and TV shows. You shouldn't pay attention to Otaku. Her head's as empty as a Halloween pumpkin. You're so cruel to your little sister. You've always bullied her. Me? Bully her? I stare at my grandmother, open-mouthed at this utter fallacy. Has she not been paying attention to the way Otaku treats me, or has she simply forgotten? Maybe she doesn't know because we don't visit her enough, but I think I need to set the record straight. I think it's the other way around. Otaku never has a nice word to spare for me. Maybe she doesn't think you deserve nice words, dear. Why not? You did lock her in our futon closet when you were younger. Oh yeah. I paused, shamefaced, my self-indignant anger spent. I guess my grandmother's right, I did do that. It happened so long ago I'd totally forgotten. I think Otaku was trapped in that cramped, musty closet for half an hour until my parents realised she was missing and organised a search party. You say you're getting on in years, but you have a better memory than I do. How could I forget you caused such a commotion? Well, I guess I used to be a brat when I was younger. Most children behave badly, it's nothing to be ashamed about, but I don't know if you ever apologised to her. My grandmother gives me a piercing look. Did you apologise, you? No, but it was so long ago, it's not like it matters anymore. That's what you might think, but these little things can stay with people. Women are incredibly good at holding grudges. Are you speaking from experience? Ah, I'm afraid that is a well-kept secret. My grandmother taps the side of her nose with one finger and I suppress a shudder. I hope no wayward woman tried to take my grandfather away from my grandmother when she was at the prime of her youth. If she was anything like Otake is now, I'm sure her vengeance would have been swift and painful. Still, my grandmother frowns, her forehead creases with innumerable wrinkles. I know I'm past my prime now, just like poor old Lisette. Dolls like her used to be extremely fashionable back in the day. A lot of people in this village had them. French dolls used to be a status symbol for bored housewives, a little like sports cars and infinitely more affordable. But now, they're outdated. Time marches on and it caught up with poor Lisette. Her hair is starting to fall out and her clothes have been eaten by moths, and she's never quite recovered from the nasty bump Kanami gave her when he was little. Her right thumb's hanging on with a pair of hope and blue tack. She looks alright to me. From a distance, maybe, she's nothing like she was in her glory days. She really was beautiful when we first bought her. Believe it or not, I used to be beautiful too. At least that's what Yukinari taught me. But all good things come to an end. Sometimes they come to an end much too quickly. I can hear the snow falling in the background above the low lazy buzz of the TV. The wind whistles about this old house, shaking it to its very foundations. Like Lisette, it's seen better days. I wonder whether my grandmother's house will one day collapse beneath its old age and all the snow, or last longer my grandmother or her home. I don't know much about my grandmother's past, but that's perhaps because there's so little to know. She was born and raised in this tiny village. She never left, save for the odd trip or two to Tokyo and her honeymoon in France. She never had any reason to live either, because life was comfortable here in all its simplicity and she had no desire to move. Life was simpler back then. Maybe that's because the internet had yet to be invented. It's hard for me to believe, but my grandmother grew up in an era without the World Wide Web, as she calls it. When people wanted to unearth new information, they went to the library or restaurant in the neighbourhood. Progress really is amazing. People always get left behind. In my grandparents' case, it happened quite literally. As more and more residents in this village began to move outwards and search for new jobs. All the young people left while their aged parents stayed on. No new blood came in, so this village stagnated. In a few years, all those old people will be no more, and this place will be completely empty. A ghost village, filled with the carcasses of those ancient uninhabited houses, just like the discarded shells of cicadas. The population of the cities will continue to swell, while quiet countryside villages such as this will fade away. This village is already unmistakably beginning to die. You can see how dirty and dilapidated. The train station is, how empty the streets, how ramshackle the old wooden homes. There's hardly anyone here anymore, just the wind and the snow and the stars. I still remember when I first met Yukinari. My grandmother's voice is soft, her eyelashes downturned. I was only 16. I went to the local shrine on New Year's Eve with my mother, meaning to ring the bell and offer my prayer to the gods. I was wearing a new kimono and a soft gauzy shawl that was brand new. I thought I looked very fine and I wouldn't stop preening. My grandmother told me I'd be struck with misfortune if I continued being so vain, and she was right. My mother always had tremendous forethought. She didn't know that this would also be the luckiest day of my life. My shawl got caught in a sudden breeze and it drifted away from me. I tried to get it back, but I wasn't fast enough and I couldn't reach it in time. I was sure my lovely new shawl was gone forever, until he caught it for me. You mean grandfather? My grandmother nods her head, a small smile on her face. That's right. That sounds very romantic. It was. I was quite taken with him. My grandmother smiles fondly, her fingertips tracing the rim of her teacup. I wish I could go back to the Jingu's shrine. Yukinari might be gone now, but I feel closer to him there than anyone else. I can still remember how my heart fluttered when he handed me my shawl and my fingers brushed for the very first time. It was so long ago, but it feels like it was only yesterday. And why don't we go back there? It'll be New Year's in a few days. You can relive your own memories. Oh no, I'm too old and it's too cold and there are many stairs. I couldn't go there now. I can help you. You can lean on my shoulder and I'll escort you up those stairs. I don't mind. It's a sweet offer, dear, but in this weather I think not. We'd both slip and break our necks. Well, maybe you have a point. The snow continues to fall outside the window. I think it's falling even faster and thicker now, if such a thing is possible. Hope no one's wandering the mountains that surround this village lost and alone. It seems like the ideal weather for a frostbitten, revenge-driven slow lady to search for new victims. And I don't know if I would want to visit Yukinari like this anyway. What do you mean? My grandmother looks down at herself in a beige sweater, her demure skirt, and her withered old hands lying upon her lap, and sighs. I'm not the bright-eyed, eager young girl I used to be. I've gotten older. The shrine has gotten older too. It's fallen in disrepair, just like me. don't think I could stand to go back and see it crumbling, all overrun with weeds. I think I would prefer to keep my memories inside here. My grandmother holds on one hand against her breast. Memories aren't like flowers. It's easier to nurture them in the dark. If I don't expect too much, I can't be disappointed. That sounds so sad. Getting old is sad, dear, but it's something I've made peace with. It happens to the best of us, and the worst, and everyone in between. And that concludes our interview with the lovely Palette Princess. We hope you enjoyed yourselves, but don't switch over yet. We have another treat in store. That's right. It's the brand new up-and-coming idol group formed by Sanix, called... But I never get to discover what Sanix's new idol group is called, because at the moment the TV shot's out. The screen flickers and turns a series of peculiar colours. It cycles through strawberry, lemon and blue Hawaii before it cuts out entirely, eaten up by a full screen of squirming, maggot-like static. There's snow inside the TV screen. Oh dear. My grandmother cuts and shakes her head. All the snow must have knocked down the television aerial. It happened last year too. How long does it take to fix it? As long as it takes for a repairman to come out here. Last time it happened it took weeks. Weeks? And that was after you could narrow find them a dozen times. He could be quite insistent if he wanted. I can imagine. I can still remember my grandfather's loud, booming voice as he called me to the kitchen to fetch my freshly cut slice of watermelon. It took a man like grandfather weeks to get results. I can't imagine my grandmother would be more successful. Oh well, I don't watch much TV anyway. And how do you fill the time? I can't imagine there's much to do around here, not now that Grandpa's... Oh, I find ways. I like cooking, and there's always housework to be done, but my back hasn't been quite up to it lately, I admit. And when that loses its appeal, I can always read. Do you read a lot? Oh yes, I've always loved reading. There were so many books I wanted to get through when I was younger, but I never had the time. My grandmother smiles wistfully. Now I have all the time in the world, but my eyesight's so bad I can't focus for more than 10 minutes at a time. Oh dear. It's always one thing or another. I echo one of Dad's commonly used phrases and grandmother laughs. That's what Yukinari always said. Dad says it too. Well, it's true. It's always one thing or another. You just have to take the good with the bad. I've had a lot to be thankful for in my life. Like meeting Grandpa? Yes. That's another one of my favourite pastimes, reliving our first encounter. At the shrine? With the shawl, when he caught it, my heart skipped a beat. I would have been taken with Yukinari in any case because he was so tall and distinguished, but when he caught the shawl it seemed like destiny somehow. It was as though the gods of the shrine had taken charge of the wind to ensure that we would meet that night. Oh my. My grandmother smiles sheepishly. It sounds so sentimental when I recount it like that. I think it sounds nice, like something from a movie. I've always thought that too. It could be a scenario from an Ozu film. But a Kotaku would lap it up. It does sound like the kind of thing she'd be interested in, doesn't it? Sadly, I don't think I can retell it in a way that she would find compelling. Why not? There wouldn't be any flashy special effects. It wouldn't star Takizawa Hideyaki. Who's that? An actor. Kotaku loves him. She used to keep a photo of him inside her purse. Well, girls would be girls, won't they? To be quite smitten with the copyright when I was a girl myself. My grandmother starts laughing, her face creasing up with mirth, and I can't help but join her. I can't remember the last time I bonded with my grandmother like this. I don't think I've ever bonded with my grandmother like this. The smell of green tea drifts through the room and seems to permeate the wooden rafters of the tatami mats, viewing everything with a warm and honey aroma. How many cups of green tea has my grandparents drunk and sitting together in a small cozy living room? That's how movies always are, I suppose. They like reinventing things, making them beautiful. They cast the most handsome actors available and worrying every less drop of drama out of events until they're nigh unbelievable, but that's what people want. Sometimes fantasies can be more comforting than reality. Is that really what you think? If there exists a fantasy where I could be a young girl again, I'd jump on it in an instant. If I could be a girl for only one more day. My grandmother shakes her head, perhaps chiding herself for her foolishness, but then she pauses. She sits up a little straighter and points out the window, almost knocking over a cup of green tea in the process. Oh, look, you! What? Out the window! I turn my head obediently. The snow is still falling thick and fast, obscuring much of the inky night sky, but between the pure white flakes I can just about see it. The moon hanging majestically above our heads, and there, leaving a trail like a jet's plane as it streaks across the sky. A star! A shooting star! I haven't seen any shooting stars in Tokyo. I hardly ever see any stars in Tokyo, full stop. The buildings are so tall it's like they scare the stars away, shooing them even up higher into the stratosphere. The sky is murky and more mysterious when you live in a big city constantly bedecked with blinking lights. Out here in the middle of nowhere, my view of the night sky is unimpeded by any outside distractions. Right, I'll make a wish too. My grandmother closes her eyes, her eyelashes mat together. Like her grey wispy hair, my grandma's eyelashes all start to thin. They look nothing like the plump and voluptuous bands of eyelashes that frame the eyes of the power princesses. It's because they're fake. But thinking about it, those girls' eyelashes can't be unnatural. They're fakes. Taku uses them too. I guess most guys wouldn't care about that. They mightn't even realise it. When you have a fashionable little sister like Otaku, you learn about the tricks women use to amplify their own beauty, whether you want to or not. Speaking of Otaku, maybe I should wish for that. Yeah. I can't think of anything else I'd rather ask for. If there are gods out there, mischievous beings light as air, who conspired to bring my grandparents together all those decades ago, then I hope they can hear my humble wish. I only have one. I hope Otaku and I can get along better. I spent that night lying in a futon my grandmother prepared for me in the guest room. Well, I call it a guest room, but it's more like a storage room, really, cluttered with various bits and pieces my grandparents had brought over the course of their lives. There's a bookcase pushed to one side of the room, filled from top to toe with paperbacks. I wonder if this is where my grandmother stores all the books she can't keep in her bedroom or the living room. When my grandmother said she was a voracious reader, she wasn't lying. The whole house is crammed with books, ranging from the classics we students have to suffer through in high school, looking at you, Sasaki Natsumi, to modern tales penned by best-selling authors like Misato Kane, Miname Asa, Higashina Kaigo, and many more I've never even heard of. Some of the books are dog-eared and well-known, but most of them are brand new. They're pretty and pristine, like the freshly fallen snow outside. The pages are immaculate, the cover is devoid of any wear. The sight of those books, half hidden in the collection tables, touches us all in some ways. I'm not sure what it is exactly. Sympathy. There are so many books my grandmother wants to read. So many books she'll never get the time to read now. Near constant snowfall drums incessantly against the window pane. The icy winds, sharp as razors, slide through gaps in the wall and dance around the room, unseen and invisible but undeniably there. The howling of the wind makes me think of ghosts or spirits. Snow women that roam the mountains, their faces as white as milk, their eyelashes decorated with fallen snowflakes like shining gemstones. I wonder what mysterious force of nature was it wasn't part of my grandmother Robert's shawl all those years ago and sent her running into the arms of my grandfather. Is it just the sudden burst of wind, or was there something more to it? I'm not a superstitious person, unlike some of my fellow university students. I don't spend hours at night trawling the internet searching for urban legends and conspiracy theories to get riled up about. I prefer to believe that things simply happen and there's not always a reason for it, and that's just the way life is. That's my typical stance on the issue, but I'm in this old house, imbued with the scent of green tea served to hundreds and thousands of ghostly impressions of my grandparents' past, when I'm surrounded by old books that have been well loved and new books that may never have a chance to be loved, and the snow is falling softly from beyond my darkened window. I can almost bring myself to believe. Maybe it really was a spirit after all. It's easy to believe in magic and spirits and destiny when you're isolated in the countryside, miles and miles away from the noise and traffic and high-rise buildings of Tokyo. I'm not sure why. Perhaps being alone beneath the starry sky naturally fuels our imaginations. It's harder to imagine when you're surrounded by too many people. Life swallows you up like a tidal wave, allowing no time for idle thoughts like this. I turn over my futon restlessly, rocking up the thin covers. There's only one pillow to rest my head on. It's a sad, threadbare thing that smells faintly of mildew and old age. I can't help but imagine, as I try and fail to get comfortable, that the spirits are giggling at my misfortunes. The snow outside really is relentless. The wind continues to moan. The tanami mats creak, and all the while, as I slowly fall into the lands of dream, I swear I can hear the faint sound of little laughter. December 30th, Saturday. Ugh. I yawn. Stretch my arms above my head. I don't see my elbows click. I don't know what time it is. There isn't a clock in this room. There's only a couple of bookcases, an old desk, and my futon. The birds outside are twittering desperately, intent on boasting that, yes, despite the cold weather and all the falling snow, they're still alive and well. They survived. I almost feel like congratulating them. Sunlight spills across the tatami mats, picking out individual motes of dust that swim in the air like goldfish. Maybe this is a dream. I don't feel fully awake yet. My head is killing me. I don't think I got enough sleep last night, but can you really blame me? Dozing off proved to be a rather difficult task, given my ears were constantly assailed by the sound of snowfall, and the wind kept sneaking through the window panes to nibble my toes. I think I must have woken up 4 or 5 times in the night. I was able to get back to sleep soon enough with no small amount of shivering, but the disrupted experiences left me feeling groggy. I shake my head and slap my cheeks with the palms of my hands. I probably look like death. If Ataka could see me like this, my hair mussed up and my skin salad, she'd probably laugh at me. Then again, Ataka laughs no matter what I look like. As I sit there, the covers of my futon draped about my knees, something suddenly catches my attention. Is all the birds singing outside, or the dust in the air, or the subtle chill that clings to my skin making me shiver? It's the smell of food! Oh, I'm hungry. I haven't finished soon. My grandmother must be cooking. My stomach starts to rumble like an old washing machine. I'm hungrier than I thought I was. I get to my feet and throw on my clothes, which are folded neatly by the side of my futon. I'm not the sort who strews things willy-nilly about the room, particularly not when I'm a guest. That's more otakus think. My curls turn up against the tatami mats. They feel uncomfortably cool against my bare skin. Where did I put my socks? One of them was lying the rest of my clothes, but the other seems to have disappeared. Was it spirited away in the night? You? My grandmother calls out to me, her voice muffled and indistinct through the walls. Are you coming for breakfast? My grandmother's not the kind of person who shouts. She never had to. My grandfather's lungs were large enough for the pair of them. I guess, after my grandfather's death, this was yet another mantle she'd had to don for herself. Perhaps that's why her voice sounded a little funny. She'd been forced into a role she's not accustomed to. Maybe I'm just overthinking things. I'm coming, just a second. All right, dear, don't be too long, though. I don't want your food to go cold. I'm making some nice hearty rice porridge to keep your strength up. Mum used to make me rice porridge whenever I got sick. It's a nice nourishing meal that always reminded me of my childhood. Well, some people might say I'm still a child. I know my mother certainly thinks that, for all she babies me, though I'm legally an adult now. Almost 20. I'm still far, far younger than my grandmother. And you? Yes, what is it? There's something I need to talk to you about. Oh, I wonder what it could be. The snow hasn't caused any serious damage to our house, has it? I hope not. Or maybe since I'm here, my grandmother wants me to help with the housework, washing the dishes, sweeping the floor. That sounds fair. My grandfather always used to help her with that. My grandfather isn't here anymore. I managed to find my missing sock. It was tucked away beneath the bookcase, looking very sad and forlorn by itself. The rogue sock is secured in seconds, and I soon slide it onto my frigid left foot. My task completed, I call out to my grandmother. All right, I'm coming! I exit the storage room and close the door behind me. My feet pad through the familiar living room, imbued with the homey scent of wood smoke and green tea. The TV sits in the corner, screen black like the water at the bottom of a well, and Lizette regards me reproachfully with her glassy blue eyes. With her high, haunty forehead and her pursed carmine lips, I swear it looks like she's judging me. Perhaps for my rumpled hair or my clothes. Which are the same ones I wore yesterday. Well, I'm not going to stand there and take Lizette's abuse. I stick my tongue out at the doll as I pass. What does she know, anyway? And then pause, feeling foolish. Why am I trying to make enemies of the doll? No matter how lifelike she looks, she isn't really real. Being back at home with the Taku must have made me paranoid. I've been in the countryside for too long already. I hope I'm not going senile. Shaking my head, my fingers seize the indentation in the kitchen door and I pull. The door creaks as it slides to the right, revealing a very cosy scene indeed. A chopping board, strewn with the cut stems of several spring onions. A bowl of rice porridge bubbling away on the stove. A young girl in a cream sweater storing the porridge with a ladle. The girl turns her head when she hears the door slide open. Her hair is dark and tied up in a ponytail. Her eyes are dark too, like chestnuts that have been roasted over an open campfire. Her eyelashes are long and thick, and her lips are pursed like a doll's. Her limbs are slender, so is her fingers. So are her fingers, which protrude elegantly from the sleeves of her oversized sweater, like a pianist's. Her features remind me of Lizette's, but they're distinctly more Japanese and far less haunty. I'm not sure how old she is, a little younger than me, younger than Nataku. Or maybe she just looks young because she isn't wearing any makeup. She's probably a teenager, 15 or 16, I guess. She's very pretty, but... What are you doing in my grandmother's house? Don't be silly, you. The girl offers me a sweet sour that looks disconcertingly familiar. I'm your grandmother. It's me, Umeko. Oh, right, of course, you're my grandmother, Umeko. I pause. Then I stare. Wait, what? So let me get this straight. I massage my temple with my fingertips. I think I can feel a headache coming on. We can talk all you want, dear, but you shouldn't neglect your rice porridge. It'll go cold. Do you really think this is the time for rice porridge? I think all problems can be resolved with good warm food. That's what Yukinari always used to say. It's very sweet, but, it is sweet, isn't it? Yukinari had a way with words, and he always used to praise my cooking. But I don't know if rice porridge will fix... I gesture at my grandmother. This. Whatever this is. I wish someone would tell me, because I have no idea what's going on right now. I don't understand what needs to be fixed exactly. Just look at yourself. Oh, yes, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I thought you might be surprised. Of course I'm surprised. Who wouldn't be surprised? My grandmother sucks on her teeth. The gesture seems a little out of sorts with her current appearance. I thought thought you might take it badly. How else did you think I'd take it? Raise a fair point. I must admit, I did think it was rather unusual when I woke up. You wake up in the body of a teenager and your only reaction is, this is unusual. Well, yes, I certainly didn't expect it. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. That's because stuff like this doesn't happen at all, not to anyone, not ever. But it's happened now. Now your porridge, you should eat it. I open my mouth, but soon realise I have nothing to say. All I can do is stare. My grandmother's rice porridge looks and smells delicious. Its comforting honey aroma invites my nostrils, reminding me I haven't eaten since last night. No matter how hungry I am, however, I can't bring myself to take a bite. There are more pressing matters that need to be addressed. How do I know you're even my grandmother? Pardon me, dear. How do I know you're my grandmother? This could be some sort of elaborate trick. There's no way this could be real. Oh dear, I see living in the city has made you rather more sceptical than you used to be. This has nothing to do with living in Tokyo. Anyone would be sceptical about this. This girl certainly sounds a lot like my old grandmother. I can't marry her face up with that old woman's I've known for the last 19 years. My grandmother hasn't changed very much these last 2 decades. Her hair's grown a little greyer, her face a little saggier. Her posture more hunched and crooked. This sudden transformation is way too much to take in. I can't wrap my head around it. That is, if it actually happens. I suppose this is shocking, yes, but when you've lived as long as I have, you learn to take these things in your stride. My whole life is filled with lucky coincidences and fortunate happenstances. I fail to see why this should be any different. Like your first meeting with grandfather. That's right. The first time I met Yukinari, I looked much like I do now, but my hair was loose and I was wearing a kimono. The kimono was decorated all over the flowers and it had a long sweeping sleeves. You didn't tell me what kimono you were wearing yesterday. No, well, I didn't think you'd be interested in the finer details. After all, you are a boy. I'm a man, actually. Sorry. I didn't want to ruin your pride. My Konami has much to say. Yeah, Dad's like that. He's so easygoing, but if you ever critique his driving... That sounds like my son, all right. Was he prideful when he was a young boy, too? Oh, yes. I distinctly remember him having a temper tantrum because one of his teachers gave him a baby's book to read for a homework assignment. He thought the adventures of Momotaro were beneath him and kicked up such a fuss. That was how he knocked poor Lizette over. I think it was an accident. He was lying in the living room, kicking his plump little legs against the floor, and, well, our Lizette didn't stand a chance. It's nice to know Dad's always been the same, I guess. Quite. My grandmother giggles. Her chest rises and falls beneath the pure white of her soft, creamy sweater. She always wears clothes like this, but the oversized sweater doesn't look quite right on her new body. It hangs loosely off her shoulders and the thick fabric bunches up around her arms. She doesn't look anything like the grandmother I used to know, but... Okay, fine, I guess I have no choice, I believe you. Wonderful, I'm glad to hear that. This is a lot to take in, though. Don't push yourself, dear. Take your time. It's easy for you to say. You don't seem overly bothered by this. I glance around the kitchen looking for... What exactly? I'm not sure. I wonder if anything else has decided to try and for myself. The rice cooker into a pumpkin or the mugs into little white rice. This morning has been so bizarre, I wouldn't be surprised. What's one more miracle compared to this? Everything else, however, looks just like I remember it. There's nothing suspicious at all. My grandmother's kitchen is so banal and ordinary, it's almost disappointing. Even so. I wonder if anything else has decided to transform itself in... I have... Okay, that sentence repeated itself. I half expect to find a cameo crew skulking behind the door or maybe beneath the table. It sounds like the premise of one of those stupid reality TV shows that Tokyo might watch. Some of the pranks they play on celebrities are especially cruel. I'm not a celebrity now. There's no reason any camera crew would come all the way out here to this teeny tiny village just to play a prank on me. I'm not nearly important enough. Now, how about that porridge of yours? You should try some before it goes cold. Alright. I feel exhausted. I think I need to replenish my energy. I lift my spoon and dip it into the porridge. It's still hot. Steam rises from the bowl in a perfect, almost picturesque manner, like something from a fairy tale. Be careful, dear, it's hot. Don't worry, I know I'm not a child. In fact, you look even younger than me right now. Oh, stop, you're flattering me. My grandmother waves one hand at me, but I think she's joking. That would explain her smile. It's nice she's able to make light of the situation. Is it because she's lived through so much already, or she's just unusual? I always thought grandmother Omeko was a little strange, ever since I was small. Seems my assessment was right. She's a peculiar woman. Her outlook on life is certainly unique, but, The porridge really is delicious. The texture of the porridge is thick and creamy, but there aren't any lumps, and it slides down my throat with ease. How is it? It's good. Thanks a lot. It's no problem. I like it when people enjoy my food. I always used to cook for Yukinari, but... Well, that's in the past now. I shouldn't dwell on it. Not while you're here. A hostess shouldn't let herself think about modelling things. As the seconds pass, I find it increasingly easier to overlay my grandmother's his face onto these young girls. Though they look different, their mannerisms are almost entirely the same. I feel myself relaxing, my defences lowering before I even realise it's happening. As unrealistic as it sounds, this girl rather, has to be my grandmother. Nobody's this good of an actress. Okay, I'm literally losing my voice right now. So, I'm going to stop here. If you want to find out what happens and how on earth his grandmother has transformed into a 16-year-old girl, then you're just going to have to buy the game and find out. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed this triple bill of promo games. I've cleared a bit around my backlog, so I feel a bit better about this now. She's transformed before anime. Yeah, Dan, probably. I will continue to play the games that I've been playing today outside of the streams. I just wanted to give everyone a chance to see them, and if any of them have sounded interesting, they're all about $5 or $6, so they're not massively expensive, so it's worth picking them up. But thank you for watching today. I'm gonna go and get something to eat and drink and rest my voice. I will be back on Tuesday with my normal stream, but I don't know what I'm playing as yet. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Alright, but for now, thanks everyone for watching. I've been Jo, otherwise known as Angel SK, and I bid you good night.